So here's the hot seat question for you. You ready?
Sure.
All right. So out of all of the things we've talked about, we've all gone through the things where we've learned from our own mistakes. So what is a big mistake either that you've made or that you've seen be made, and what was learned from it that the rest of us can learn from? And it can be in relation to sales and marketing alignment or anything.
Yeah, I would say to me, the one I've seen from my teams as well as from other companies that I would advise is this one about when you're really pushing the pedal to the metal and you are putting pressure on marketing to really drive up the leads,
Mm-hmm.
that you have to put extra focus on understanding those leads that are those new leads that are coming, and be collaborative, and have sales needs to understand too, right? That we need to collaborate together to make these new sources be productive. And it's not just because sales has got the high goals too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the place where I've seen, because, and maybe it's just because I work a lot with companies that have high growth goals, but those are the ones where, the CEO has high expectations. You see this plan that looks like this, marketing is going like this, and they usually get there, but there's usually some friction that happens where this big pile of leads comes in and people have some pain in sorting through that and how they work on that. So, when you're getting ready to ramp, that's the time where you need to talk about the upcoming potential misalignment, right? And how do we
Right.
prepare to make sure that that doesn't happen to us?
Right. And don't forget that as those leads increase, if you're not also investing in developing the abilities of your sellers and managers to deal with those different type of leads or style of leads or sales process, you're expecting, but you're not actually supporting. So we're going to make sure that there's alignment there too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I know you do a lot of coaching with teams as well, and that's critical too, right? And it may be the case that a sales team needs to have two or three different avenues of addressing different kinds of leads now, right? And that needs to be agreed on up front. I've seen also some instances where a sales team doesn't want to do that. And it may be with good reason. It may be that the skill set of the team is such that if they've got this homogeneous path that they need to put people through to keep their throughput and their velocity high, and if they have to start adapting all over the place, then it messes up their cadence, right?
Right.
And so if that's the case, then maybe it's pulling out a special team, right? Maybe you've got two or three reps that are more nimble, that have been with the company or just get it more. And you say, okay, we're going to give this new lead pool to this pool of reps here, right? And see if they can learn how to, leverage this pool of leads. So doing things like that and saying, not just trying to force it and jam it down and say, we're just going to make the sales team do it. Sometimes they can, right? Sometimes not
Right.
everybody out there is going to be able to do it right away. Sometimes you might need to give them a month of coaching before they can. Sometimes you might need to pull out some people. So what do you do to make it work, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't just force it.
Yeah, so you've got to be able to match lead type to skill set, put alignment there, but then
Mm-hmm.
also look at if you're projecting growth and you're putting this demand on marketing, you've also got to expect that if you've got a group of team that they're really good in handling inbound leads and now you want them to prospect enterprise deals, there's going to need to be a learning curve factored in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily guesswork. You can actually align skill sets to those types of things, but you've got to factor those things in. Otherwise you're going to burn out your team and the team's going to churn, and then it gets even more expensive for growth.
Yeah, and on the flip side with marketing as well, right? So if marketing knows there's a cost to sales of different kinds of things that I go after, right?
Right.
And so can I focus on some programs that have similar kinds of outputs? Because yes, for marketing, it may be, nice to go and do 15 different kinds of tests, right? And build upon 15 different kinds of leads. But it's probably unrealistic to expect the sales team to be able to absorb those kinds of different leads. If you can bucket them and say, okay, there's really three buckets of these. These are all similar. These are all similar. These are all similar. And I think the way we can follow up on those, and so we have three paths,
Yeah.
that just makes it more amenable. So, I think that both teams need to realize the cost for each other, right? So sales needs to realize, hey, marketing's got this really steep thing. They're going to need to experiment, right? So we're going to need to work with them, because otherwise and the org can't expect them to just magically make up these leads that are the same exact quality. It's not going to happen, right?
Right.
And on the flip side, marketing's got to realize, okay, sales has got to take these things and absorb them and convert them. So we've got to have some mechanism to create some homogeneity between these things, Because if we just throw all these different things at them and don't have good bucketing, they're not going to be able to absorb and convert them. We can't just point the finger in sales and say, well, we gave you all this stuff, you didn't convert.
Yeah. And it's almost like creating specialized teams or pods. So if you have these 3 different pathways, let's create and match skill set and have marketing and organize it that way. And I think the experimentation, the iteration, the feedback loop, when you have it broken out into smaller teams and pods, becomes a lot easier to manage and even compare and contrast to some degree.